Hello, hello, Otafest listeners. This is Angelo, and we're here with Season 7, Episode 35 of the Otafest podcast. And with me today is Nancy and Jei.
Hello, hello.
I'm and Jei.
And Jei.
That's me.
Jei?
And
Do we do the in sync?
ampersand Jei.
Ampersand Jei. And if you're running that through a browser, that's gotta be the ampersand, and then the amp, and then the semicolon, and then you get the ampersand.
Tables hate him.
True.
But before we get into the semantics of web development in this podcast, I'd like to announce our final voice actor guest of honor, Griffin Burns.
Oh my.
He is known for voicing Shaonark Ryusei in Hunter x Hunter, Akira Fudo in Devilman Crybaby, Muichiro Tokito in Demon Slayer, Vinegar Doppio in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind, and he's also credited in Genshin Impact as Tartaglia, also known as Child. And a reminder that you can still pre-purchase your Otafest weekend passes at the early bird price of $55. Visit otafest.com and get yours now.
Tweet.
Exciting.
Very exciting. Much more exciting than the semantics of web development, so let's not talk about that.
Let's not. That's going down too nerdy of a rabbit hole.
That's a different podcast.
That's not what we do here. Here we talk about our voice actors and our cosplay guests that are coming to Otafest.
We also talk about Genshin. A lot.
Every now and then, at least twice.
At least. Yes. But I do think it's super awesome that we have so many guests from Genshin Impact this year. It's going to be pretty star-studded, I think.
I think it's actually pretty cool that we've got both Zhongli and Tartaglia coming here. Both of those characters have a lot to do with each other in the story. So having them both at Otafest, I think there's going to be a lot of Genshin fans that are going to want to be seeing them both, you know?
I am super excited to see the autograph line full of Zhongli's and Tartaglia's.
Yes.
I need to see that. It's going to be such an interesting photo op.
I can't enforce a rule that you have to be cosplaying as Zhongli or Tartaglia to be in the signature line for them. If I could, I would.
It'll just sort of look like a multiplayer game lobby.
What was it? The Division, that Ubisoft game, where it's halfway to an MMO and there were actually lineups in the game to start the game.
Aww.
Yeah, that was a bad idea, Ubisoft. Never do that again.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, it was very much grilled back at the time. It was very silly.
I feel like that's trying to emulate real life a little too hard.
It really is. Like, I'm kind of a fan of skeuomorphism in design. A lot of people say it looks ugly, but I think it makes things more intuitive. But having to line up in game to do a thing, it kind of makes me feel bad. It's actually something that Phasmo does. Phasmophobia.
Oh.
To start a game,
yes.
it like puts everything on a chalkboard and you have to walk up to the chalkboard and interact with it to start the game. And I mean, I get it. I understand that it's like, yes, plan out your ghost hunting expedition on the chalkboard before you go and play the video game. Haha, aren't we fantastic? It's annoying. Give me a proper UI, please.
But it's the game that's based on reality, and the reality is the game.
And in terms of like VR for Phasmo, that makes sense. But how many people actively play Phasmo in VR these days? I think the vast majority of people are playing in the in the desktop mode.
Maybe. I have thoughts on that, but let's have a chat, a recap about all of our cosplay and voice actor guests, because I think they deserve a lot of attention. They are very cool. We're very happy to have them. And my God, there's just so much variety in what they do.
There really is. Like, we've got Keith Silverstein, for example. As I was saying, I believe he is the voice actor for Zhongli in Genshin Impact. He's also the voice actor for Torbjorn in Overwatch. That's another game that I've been playing quite a lot of lately. I spent 5 hours last night playing Overwatch 2. It was a good time.
My brain just tried to mash those two voices together.
It's so different. Your boy has range. Like, I'm just out here. Every time that I hear Zhongli saying, I remember, Osmanthus wine tastes the same. I keep hearing it in Torbjorn's voice. Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But who are those who share those memories? And I'm just like, what is going on? How is that the same voice actor? But it is. It is. And that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing.
He's actually one of my favorite antagonists in Naruto.
Oh, yeah?
He's Kimimaro Kaguya. He's like this one-off, I guess, like sort of mini boss, kind of antagonist. And he has this epic fight with Rock Lee. But yeah, Kimimaro is essentially, he is the last of his clan, and his jutsus are all based around like bone.
Interesting.
It's very cool.
I don't think I've watched that deeply into Naruto.
I definitely haven't.
It wasn't that deep.
I mean, I really haven't seen that much of it. So.
I don't think I've ever watched past the exams that all the kids go through, where Rock Lee absolutely dominates Gaara.
It's only shortly after that, actually. It's only shortly after that. So, but yeah, lots of very cool. Looking at the entirety of his resume here, there's just so much stuff that I can't believe anyone can lend their voice to all these things and not be like the variety, the range is just insane. Like, I can't imagine that he's the same. He's in Kuroko's Basketball. He's in My Hero Academia.
Oh, what is he in Hero Academia?
Wolfram.
I don't think I know that character, but okay. Honestly, I don't think it. I would be interested in what they are, but there's a lot of anime that I've never listened to the dub for, so I don't think I could appreciate the performance anyway.
I've begun. This is a slight aside. I don't want to get too far away from the path here, but I've begun thinking about watching more anime in dubs, mainly because the quality is there now. Mm-hmm. That's undoubted. And it's so that I don't have to pay attention to reading the show.
So there are certain shows that I do find it easier to watch in English. Ghost in the Shell, A Second Gig is probably one of them because it's very like dialogue dump heavy. There's a lot of like talking about society and like certain faction groups and politics, and there's just a lot of that. And it gets a little bit murky for me if I do have to like pay attention to the subtitles like really, really hard. I'm really used to being able to read subtitles very quickly and then go back to just enjoying the screen. So I'm constantly like kind of doing this like look down, look at the subtitles, comprehend them, and then look back up and enjoy the rest of the dialogue while it happens.
Sure.
I can't do that in Ghost in the Shell. It's just too heavy.
You really are right. And maybe that's why I couldn't stick around with Bakemonogatari for its last couple arcs, because it was just...
Oh.
Bakemonogatari is also infamously dialogue heavy. Infamously. And to the point where it was just exhausting to get through it for the last couple arcs. So there's like 7 or 8 episodes, maybe 9, of Bakemonogatari that I just have not watched. Like, it's an exercise.
And I'll be honest, a part of it is very selfish when it comes to Ghost in the Shell standalone complex because Mary Elizabeth McGlynn's in it. I love
Yes.
listening to her voice.
But Jay actually
So-
has a point. Back in the old days, you couldn't really
old
count
days.
on the quality of a dub being there. But honestly, these days, they're pretty good. Everybody who's working on them knows what they're doing, and it's of a consistent quality that I think you can appreciate.
ADR has definitely changed a bunch in the last while, and for the better. Dubbing is hard to do, so I can certainly really appreciate all of the different pieces that go into it, especially when it comes, it comes out and the final product is just so polished.
The last time that I actually went out of my way for an anime dub was the Space Dandy dub, for a couple different reasons.
Oh?
Interestingly enough, so Space Dandy, absolutely amazing anime. The dub aired first. The English voice version of the anime consistently aired several hours before the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted it, if you were impatient and you wanted it now, first of all, you went with the English dub because that was the first one to come out. That was the soonest one. But not only that, the voice inflection, the voice acting in it was legitimately fantastic. Like, in the old days, people might have a list of like, yes, these are the good anime dubs. You have the Cowboy Bebop. You have the FLCL. Bakano. That has to be on there for their excellent use of regional accents. But for modern anime, what's a really good dub versus what is a really bad dub is not that much of an argument to have, is it?
I can't believe you've left out Ghost Stories.
Ghost Stories is its own.
It is
own
legendary.
Thing. Its own legendary thing. It's hard to call that a dub and more of a reimagining of the story. Like, I think just calling Ghost Stories a dub isn't doing it justice.
But yeah, so I believe that all three of us and many more fans of anime are like strong readers as well. So it's not that it's difficult to read subs, but it just requires a different level of focus. It's a visual focus that you can't necessarily deploy while you're, for example, maybe reading some other articles or like browsing or playing a video game, that like to bounce between the two to like verify the action and the text is a little bit more difficult and time consuming versus just letting audio play and you being able to multitask in that way. It's like listening to an audiobook instead, which is fine. But at least the quality is up there for a lot of anime now that I haven't actually done so yet. I always say that I don't really watch anime. I do, but in like binges every 5 years. And I feel that a binge is coming on soon. And I'm like, should I switch to dubs?
Do it.
Thinking about it.
Try it out and see what your thoughts are, and we can talk about it, right? That's what podcast is for.
It's true.
Maybe it will help you with focus. But I think we need to focus back on what we were doing. Let's talk about Brendan Hunter for a second.
Brendan Hunter.
We love Brendan Hunter at Otafest.
We sure do.
This is not his first time being our guest, and I'm just so happy he's coming back. He's just the coolest guy.
I mean, like every time I sit on one of his panels, like obviously he's a wealth of knowledge. He's exceptionally entertaining. Like even
The man
when
is
he's
a
just,
character. He also
Yes.
He's
portrays them.
eloquent.
He portrays
Yes.
characters and he is the character.
Quite frankly, his facial hair is on point.
Oh my god. It's divine. He's inspiring.
One of the first times I met him was about 10 or 15 minutes before panel was starting, and I was just like, Brendan, you gotta tell me, what do you use to get your mustache so perfectly curled? And he was just like, I'm gonna level with you. My wife makes it for me. I don't know what it is. It's something based on coconut oil, but You would have to look it up online. That's what she did. And I just got such a kick out of that. Kick out of that. But your boy has style that cannot be emulated by mortal men.
Yeah, honestly. Sometimes, okay, when he co-paneled with us at Expo, just like barely a month ago, he brought these immaculate shoes. He opens up his little suitcase, he brings them out, and he's like, Nancy, yes or no? And I look at them and I'm like, this is hard. You make this decision difficult. They are these amazing, like slightly raised heel boots. They have so much character to them, but Brendan, being Brendan, is already dressed immaculately. So I'm like, you know what, that might actually be too much. But you know what I would want to see you in? Tights with these boots and then like a troubadour top.
Oh,
Absolutely.
my.
Yes. And he goes, I like that. I'm going to steal that for later. And this is like a normal exchange with Brendan. Mm-hmm. He's just so cool.
I can confirm that.
He's just so cool. Anyway, super looking forward to Brendan coming back, and his panels are always so much fun. The man is inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. If you need to catch only one panel, make sure it's one of Brendan Hunter's.
What about the podcast panel?
Running,
you jerk.
Yes, also that. But also,
Okay.
Brendan is running auction, so please check him out at auction. He is the best auctioneer.
All I'm saying is that if Brendan Hunter's panels run at the same time as the Otafest podcast panel, I forgive you. I forgive you, listener.
In fact, Angelo may consider skipping out on the Otafest podcast panel.
I will break you.
Jei will forgive me.
No, we'll just take over. We'll just merge the panels. It'll be easier that way.
We'll tell Brendan to
that
come
will be
on
easy.
to
Special
our
guests.
panel instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
If you're into anime, you've got a home at Crunchyroll. Stream over 1,000 shows and movies, plus new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan. Looking to take your fan status to the next level? Then browse hundreds of chapters in our growing manga library. And don't forget about Crunchyroll originals like The God of High School, Shenmue the Animation, and my favorite, So I'm a Spider, So What? Which, to be clear, is the show's name, because I'm definitely a human. So, head on over to Crunchyroll and sign up today.
And then Griffin Burns. Griffin Burns, of course, the man who needs no introduction because we already introduced them in the news and announcements.
He has credits too.
As Child/Tartaglia in Genshin Impact. We are really happy. Like I was saying with Keith, we're so happy to have both Zhongli and Tartaglia at the same time. That is just super cool. Everything else that he's done, he's been in prolific anime. Hunter x Hunter, you try to find a well-seasoned anime enjoyer who has not watched Hunter x Hunter. I only know of one personally, and I'm not going to name them. But
Ooh.
I said I'm not going to name myself, Nancy.
I said ooh. Nope, nothing. Go
Exactly. And then Akira Fudo, that is the main character in Devilman Crybaby. And Devilman Crybaby was such a wonderful, unique anime. It is the best adaptation of the Devilman franchise, if you ask me. That is just amazing. Have either of you guys watched Devilman?
I've heard of it.
I remember watching the first episode and feeling extremely out of my depth. Like, I watched it with no prior warning or summary or anything. I went to it on Netflix and I hit play.
Oh, you were in for a surprise.
And I was in for a ride.
If you really felt that it wasn't for you after the first episode, I mean, it literally just keeps that train rolling. Devilman Crybaby is definitely not an anime for everyone, even though I do think it is an amazing anime. Definitely like anime of the year that it came out. The first episode is like the filter. If you do not like episode 1,
What's the genre?
what would it be? What would that be considered? Drama, action, copious violence?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a little bit like avant-garde in the way that the art style is extremely surreal.
Oh,
is
absolutely.
Is there any supernatural to it?
Yes. Yes, it is
There's a lot of
literally,
supernatural to it.
Okay.
literally, demons are everywhere.
Okay.
Yep.
Ya boy Akira, spoilers, is Devil Man. He is the man who is also the devil.
My God.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Makes sense. That tracks.
All right. I
Moichiro
accept it.
Tokito. I'm not sure who that is in Demon Slayer. I'd have to look up a picture of them. But Demon Slayers, again, it is one of like the behemoths of shonen anime right now. You cannot look at you cannot talk to a modern anime enjoyer without them having some opinion on Demon Slayer. Some of them will be like, it is the best anime that has ever been given to us by the grace of the gods. Others will be like, that is the worst anime that has ever bestowed upon us by Satan. And most people will be like, yeah, that's a pretty good solid shonen anime. Sometimes I like it. Some episodes aren't for me, but it's all right. And then, of course, Vinegar Doppio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Like, all of these characters are so incredibly different from each other in terms of personality. Doppio would almost overlap Akira in the first half of the first episode, really. But, anything that's touched by JoJo, and anyone who touches JoJo, it changes them.
Phrasing.
It changes them.
Deeply and spiritually.
And then, of course, Child from Tartaglia. How many listeners have emptied their wallet for Tartaglia?
Lots. I'm
Many.
pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that Dio, sitting right across the room from me right now, has emptied out their wallet at least once for Tartaglia.
What is Tartaglia? Who is Tartaglia? How is Tartaglia?
So Tartaglia, if I had to criticize Tartaglia, I would say Tartaglia
Gasp.
is what happens when MiHoYo looks at what Type Moon is doing with the Fate series, and they're like, oh, look at the Fate series over there. All of their archers are using swords. We should do that. And then so Tartaglia is a character who is explicitly an archer, who has a skill so that he can explicitly use swords all the time.
All right.
Yep.
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 Yep. I don't have Child, but Sean does. And he does use him fairly often.
Child is sitting at the bottom of my account at level 1.
You didn't even upgrade him to level 10 to get that free wish?
I'm here for the waifus.
Oh. I mean, that's totally fair. But free wish, if you
It's
get him
true.
up to level 10.
It's true.
I don't know anything
That's
about
okay. We
Genshin
have
Impact.
That's okay. We have a lot of listeners who are definitely in it for the husbandos. I'm in Angelo's camp. I'm in it for the waifus.
Maybe we get some waifus next year. Who knows?
Maybe we do.
Who
Wouldn't that be
knows? I
interesting?
certainly don't.
I mean, Genshin has set themselves up to be a pretty long-running game. Like, they keep releasing new content pretty much every 6 weeks-ish, notwithstanding the most recent one that they have announced already that they're putting off and delaying.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been really good at releasing new content. They're taking their sweet time pacing the story so that, you keep coming back. And next year, we're probably going to have like a whole new schwack of voice actors if we want more Genshin Impact characters to come visit us.
Oh my god. What? When are we going to get Lily Pichu as a guest for her role
Oh,
as
Lily
Sayu?
Pichu would be amazing. I need Lily Pichu to also do some performing while she's here.
That would be a voice actor guest that would be exceptionally nice.
Yeah. Like, as a guest handler, I make an effort to be extremely professional, and I do not fangirl for anyone, but it's really hard sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, like I feel like I don't know. I'm not a guest handler. I don't want to be a guest handler. But I would constantly be fighting with myself to, if I had to keep a conversation going with them, being like taking small talk versus talking shop. It's like what is the proper balance?
How do you think I feel? I am a voice actor.
Yeah, like half of your life would just be talking shop to them.
I know, and I definitely try not to, because I'm here to make sure they're taken care of and they're having a good time. That's all I'm here to make sure they're doing.
Man, when it comes to small talk, it's so hard not to talk shop, if you know what I mean. So what I mean by that, for people who might not understand, is talking shop is basically talking about your job with someone who has a similar job or similar industry. And as much as it can be something that's productive to talk about, because it's something both people understand, at the same time, it can feel like you're at work, talking to someone at work.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want that if you're a guest handler, for sure.
Exactly.
As enlightening as it is, it's really, really hard to stop yourself sometimes. I don't think I've broken that wall with any of our guests that were like, under my care. But one day it will happen. One day it will happen.
Yes. One day it will happen.
But you know what?
But it is not this day.
Talking shop. Okay, so talking shop. I imagine our next summary of guests here will be very, very hard not to talk shop with.
It's true.
Because Fighting Dreamers is coming, Sonya Blade is coming, and AK Wiru is coming.
Yes.
There's so much shop to talk with these people.
Mm-hmm.
They are cosplayers coming to an anime convention. Every minute of every day is going to be dedicated to talking about cosplay. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen. We can't stop ourselves.
Pretty much. It's probably even harder than the voice actors.
Having that said, it's different. Talking shop with cosplayers is a little bit different than with a lot of other industries or professions, in that if you talk to a cosplayer, one of their favorite things to talk about is how they made something.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cheat code to talking to a cosplayer. Go up to them, point at something on their cosplay and be like, that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Can you tell me how you made it?
Insert 45-minute dialogue.
If they are not busy, if you didn't come up to them at like a lunch table, don't do that. If you didn't like interrupt a panel, don't do that either. If you were just like, that's awesome, what can you tell me about it? Their eyes will you will physically see sparkles show up. It happens.
That's like my favorite part about any time anyone talks about their interests or hobbies.
Passions.
Is like,
yeah,
that turn of expression, like their eyes light up, is a real thing. Like,
I'm pretty sure that you can run
something.
solar panels off of the sparkling of their eyes.
Hell yeah.
And so you ask them how they made a thing. Sometimes they'll downplay it. Sometimes they'll be like, this was the most work that I have ever dedicated to anything in my life.
And they know exactly how many hours they spent on it.
So all I'm saying is have an exit plan in mind. Some people do not do that, and they just spend the next 8 hours of the con talking about cosplay. It's amazing.
Yeah, I super enjoyed Sonia's panel last year when we had our virtual event, where she was like getting into all the details of how to make a corset, and I was like, oh my god, look at how many panels there are. And she was just like, yeah, and then you'll need this, and you'll need, like, she's so well established in this craft now that it's no big deal for her, but it is still so boggling to see a professional working.
It's nice.
It's great.
As much as I don't like when my boss looks over my shoulder when I'm at work, being the person looking over the shoulder of another professional as they work is some of the most interesting content that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is sort of an interesting distinction, too, when it comes to making small talk between voice actors and cosplayers. Most voice actors can't talk about what they're working on right now. Whereas if you ask a cosplayer, hey, what are you working on right now? What are you struggling with right now? That's really interesting and applicable in your world. They will go into it. They're just well, I'm really struggling with this one stitching for this piece because it's not staying together and it's not keeping the right shape and it's not the right stiffness. And like, they really just go ham into those details. Mm-hmm. Voice actors can't do that. They can't talk about what they're working on right now.
I mean, some cosplayers can't do that either if they have a contract with a certain company to do promos.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That is true, but that is much more rare.
It's still, and it's still easier to work around. Like, you don't have to say what company and what character it is or what specific costume, but you can just say, I'm really having trouble with the lapels on this one coat that I'm trying to make, da-da-da-da-da.
Whereas compared voice actors, they cannot say a word. Sometimes they can't even say that they're working on a specific project until it is already like out in the wild, until it's already released. And even then, what they can or can't say is very restricted about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nancy can say that she was in a project, but if she ever wants to get voice acting work again, she probably can't say anything about how the project went.
Yeah. I can say I'm working on a game, but I can't tell you what game it is or what studio it is or who's making it or what it's about or who's in it.
It's
there's
Tetris.
A lot of things.
I've given it up. It's Tetris. She voices
Jei, how dare you?
the T block.
Oh my god.
You will be hearing from my lawyers.
No, I won't.
No.
Man,
because that's entirely fictional. But
if I were voice acting Tetris, I would refuse any role that isn't the long one.
Oh my god.
I need that. I need to be the diva. I need to have that lead role. I need to be the
It's not a lead role.
one.
It's only a lead role for babies. Everyone knows that T-Spin is the lead role.
Oh my god.
Long one. The long one.
For babies.
This is... Oh my god. This is turning into a heated debate. I need you to calm down.
Honestly, I was in high school before I really understood and strategized while playing Tetris. Before that, I was not much of a puzzle gamer. I wasn't someone who really used my brain too much in video games. I was mostly just, I press A button until I win.
Okay.
But just loading up like an NES emulator and playing Tetris on it was a good time. A very good time.
I had classic Tetris on my Windows 95 machine.
Oh my god.
It was a time.
I know that
pretty good at it.
Windows 95 didn't come with Tetris.
No, you had to get it. You had to get it on a floppy.
I'm pretty sure Windows 95 did come with a Weezer music video for their song Buddy Holly.
They did, yes.
Yes.
As well as the Braveheart trailer.
Oh my god.
And something else.
But
yes, I do remember those.
I can't remember how many times I watched that music video on the old PC. God damn.
The Buddy Holly music video was actually very clever and funny.
It was great.
I liked it a lot.
And now time for more happy days.
And now time for more cosplayers. We still have Fighting Dreamers coming in from Vancouver. They're fantastic. They're just so deeply ingrained in the Vancouver scene. They bring a lot of creativity. They bring a lot of production value to a lot of, what they put out on their YouTube channels. And it kind of just adds an air of legitimacy to the efforts that I think cosplayers put through. I know that some cosplayers, they travel to Vancouver from, surrounding areas just to help make some videos and, kind of make that work and show off everything that they do together because of, what they're known for. We've had them a couple of times before, I believe, and they hosted a panel for our live stream last year, which was greatly appreciated. I really just can't say enough, even though I'm not a cosplayer. I just like I'm very impressed by like the work that they do, because it's not easy to keep on pushing through all the time, especially when you couldn't get together to do, you know, like production work over the last 2 years. I assume it must have been, you know, sort of gut wrenching in terms of seeing your efforts fall away to the dust. A lot of things had to happen like that over the past couple of years, but when you're sort of a collective who has to do that, it's even more impressive to pick it back up.
It really is.
And then of course, you know, AK. I don't think we can say enough about AK, other than I really want to see him come up with something that our voice actors also like voice for as a character, and he's wearing it and he's made it. Imagine a live action voicing of a character in real life. I think that'd be pretty sick.
That would be quite a dope, as the children say.
Yes. But yeah,
I feel like AK doesn't need much introduction. His what he does is just so, I don't know, it's arresting.
Their cosplay
like, you look at pictures of him on social media and you're just like, that is just stunning, and there are no words.
Exactly. Like, it's just you gaze upon him and the air escapes your lungs with the gasp that you make. You're just like, I am speechless.
Oh, AK, funnily enough, literally just made a post on our Otafest Facebook page saying that he hasn't yet decided which cosplays he wants to bring yet. So
I mean,
suggestions are open.
If he's flying in from down under, there's definitely going to be a limit to how much he can carry with him.
He flies in from Vancouver, my dear.
Oh, is he flying in from Vancouver?
He lives in Vancouver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did I think that he lived in Australia?
He used to.
Oh, he used to. That must be it.
Mm-hmm. He's from there.
I see.
So it's okay.
I see. I did not know he had moved. I really didn't. But still, I mean, if you're
I think it was over the last
very
couple years.
large, complicated structures with
I mean,
you,
there's only so
plane?
many cosplays that can fit on a 737.
Just rent out the
I don't know
entire
if
plane.
he's renting out the entire plane. I
Yeah.
don't know if that might be feasible to do.
It might
But
be
it's
his
for
style,
the
who
passion
knows?
of the art. You can't let logistics. You can't just let logistics stand in the way, you know. I actually can't imagine. Like, I feel for cosplayers in that regard, because I'm like, you see them travel, and I'm like, I just had to bring an overnight bag and a couple extra clothes. You brought like your whole world and more.
There are certain cosplays where if I'd done them, they would never travel farther than
Locally?
Calgary or Edmonton,
Yeah.
because I have no idea how I would pack them in a suitcase,
Like,
keep them in one place on a plane.
it's understandable that, like, you know, props are collapsible to a certain extent and everything like that. But it's the bulkiness of it, you know?
It is.
Like,
And the fragility of a lot of it, too.
oh, absolutely. And especially if you have like electronics to it, you got copper wiring going through for like LEDs or something like that. I'm like, brother, I really hope this works for you. There was, as Nancy saw at Expo, there was like the 2 giant Gundam cosplays.
Yep.
And I assume they're locals, because if they're not, my God,
Transporting all that must have
imagine.
been so hard.
God, it would take like a actual small cube van to transport some of that stuff. I can't imagine
they
doing
drove.
it otherwise. Maybe you would have to.
There's certain things you just can't drive to, though.
Like what?
This Friday, Dio and I went to Beerfest.
Excellent.
And that is something that, even if you drive there, you're not driving home from. Good Lord. It was awesome. It was at the BMO Center, and Dio, about 2 weeks before, was just like, oh, there's this thing happening. And I'm like, oh, Beerfest. Oh, and she's like, yeah, so I got a couple of VIP tickets and we're going, and you don't have a say in the matter. It's like, well, as if I wanted to have a say in the matter, we're going. So after work on Friday, I took a train down to the BMO Center right from work, and Dio was already there, and it was amazing. It was just, I believe it was the same vendors hall that CCEE usually uses, filled with booths from every different brewery and distillery in the city. And they said it's a Calgary International Beer Fest, and I really feel like the international part is just a technicality. There were like 2 places, 2 booths from the US and 1 from Korea.
Oh,
and everything
cool.
else, almost everything else in there was from Calgary. There were a couple booths from Okotoks. I think there was a couple from Edmonton. Actually, there was a beer cheese booth from Edmonton.
A beer cheese?
Beer cheese.
Is it a
I will have to
cheese?
text.
They take the foam and then they let it solidify.
Okay, so the beer cheese was some cuts of like string cheese fried in beer, butter, and herbs. So like they had some kind of beer reduction going on that they then fried the cheese in, so it was getting just a little bit melty, buttery, herby, and it had this beery flavor to it. It was so good. So good. And me and Dio went through 100 tickets, each ticket being $1. So we went through $100 worth of beers and foods, and so much of it was so good. And as much as I enjoyed a lot of the beer, the food was actually next level. We went by, I think it was Prairie Dog Brewing. Prairie Dog Brewing had pastrami, and they had pulled pork. And so like for 5 tickets, so for $5, you got this little tray full of some giant pastrami cubes. And you take a bite, and it was so tender, so flavorful, smoky, briny. It was some of the best meat you could stuff into your mouth. And when we first went there, when we first stopped by, we had enough tickets to get some of the pastrami cubes. But we saw some of their pulled pork sandwiches that they were doing as well. And we were like, okay, we have to make sure to get extra tickets just for the pulled pork. Goddamn. So we got the tickets. We went back. We had some pulled pork. And by the end
Damn it.
by the end of the day, Dio and I were full of barbecue and full of beer. I think I must have had like 20 different beers. By that, I don't mean like they don't give you like a full can of beer. For about 2 tickets, for about $2, there were these fun little plastic beer glasses that they gave you on the way in. And they probably hold about like 5 shots, maybe like 100 milliliters or 150 milliliters of liquid. And so you would just give them your glass. They would fill it up with something, and you go to town.
Damn.
It was such a good experience. So
bet.
fun.
Did you buy anything to bring home?
Yes. Yes, actually. So they actually had a Sobeys liquor store set up right in the hall. So you could buy some nice drinks, some beers, whatever you would like on your way home. So I bought like a variety pack of some of the beers that we didn't try. And when I was loading them into our fridge at night, one of them slipped from my hand. It took a staggering, long, an incredible 6-inch drop. So, not that big of a drop. And it hit a shelf on the fridge.
Okay.
And a grenade went off in my face.
Oh no.
This beer literally exploded. The top of it, the lip of the can, where normally the tab, like you push it in, that was pushed out. My face was covered in beer. My shirt was covered in beer. There were splatters on our ceiling fan.
Can you even reach those, like, to clean them off after?
I had to get a mop. I couldn't reach them.
Oh, God.
So, of the 8-pack of beers, unfortunately, one was sacrificed for the sake of unexpected humor. It was just, wow. I never had that happen to me before.
I don't think I've ever had a canned drink explode outwards on me.
Yeah, unless you shake it. Unless it's
There's the
carbonated
one
and shaken,
thing of like
agitated.
shaking a can and then opening it and being like, haha, look at it explode. No. Dropping it
that's not.
6 inches, like literally.
Oh, no, that definitely is a thing. No, that's absolutely like a cause.
Of course it's a thing. It just happened to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying did you not expect it to happen after that after the drop happened?
I've dropped cans of pop like more than 6 inches and they just dented. Like they don't explode.
I've dropped beers and cans from like normal holding level while standing. So like a good 4-foot drop. With the worst thing being like a dent and then being like, okay, this beer gets set to the side for it to chill out for a little while.
Uh-huh.
It's the water hammer effect. You've never seen that?
Oh, I know what it is. And I've heard of like disasters where water hammer has like blown up buildings in New York.
Yeah, it's actually incredible because for anyone who doesn't know the properties of like water, for example, which is why it's called the water hammer, it's just because water does not compress well. And when compressed, it transfers energy almost directly. So therefore it creates almost like a destructive explosive effect depending on its container.
I just didn't expect it. That's all I'm saying. It was a very short drop. That's the first time it's ever happened to me.
Fair. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't expect cans to explode in such a fantastical manner either.
Mm-hmm. I've just seen mostly glass bottles explode if you just drop them directly on there.
So like classic Coke bottles?
Yeah, Coke
Mostly
bottles
beer
or beer bottles or like any kind of like glass bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's glass. Well, what do you expect?
We use glass as a storage medium for a reason. It's not that fragile. It's less fragile than people think, but weaker than you know.
Weaker than you know. Just like next week when we'll have a new episode of the Otafest podcast.
Right before the day of.
It's too soon. It's too
coming.
soon. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for
See you
listening.
next time.
Goodbye.